Hello and welcome back to the Gold Advantage. Play-ins has finished and we are about to start the main event, groups for Worlds 2022. Oh my god, here comes...
Oh, is it starting?
It is starting. As we said, play-ins are over.
Oh my god, Worlds is
Scoot
starting.
has now joined us. The real action is about to begin. The real tournament. B&B, as you were saying actually in our little chat pre-beginning, now all the teams are good. So all the matches are going to be way more entertaining and I think much more competitive. How are you guys doing?
I'm trying to figure out my camera angle right now. I'm doing great. I agree with our friend over here, Big Money Blivs, on the situation that's occurring where every team is actually good now, and we're going to get some quality league instead of a bunch of slap fights between minor regions, which, as entertaining as they were, it's not the top tier, and you know it's hard to take things away from that. So I'm extremely excited to get into it. Like
You just want to see T1 play.
Yeah, I don't want anything more.
You haven't seen Cloud9 or T1 in like a month now, and so
it's been so long. I'm having withdrawals, and like T1 EDG, I can't wait. Like T1 C9, I can't wait because it's also the final. Like it's a preview. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's
crazy,
mad, isn't it? Yeah, who would have thought?
I mean, yeah. Look, it's tough to get excited when you've got Isurus playing Istanbul Wildcats. It's tough to get excited when you've got Cheese Esports playing Beyond Gaming. What is not tough to get excited about, as Scoot so eloquently mentioned, which is the final of Cloud9 versus T1. These are nonstop bangers. I think why this came up is we were talking about wanting to go through all the games, and we're like, this is going to be a 2-hour podcast if we try to cover days 1 and 2 on top of a recap of the fantastic play-ins. And so the reality is we're going to split it up. We're going to come back tomorrow with some actual picks because it's like trying to, even when we cover the LCS. I was like, when we cover the LCS and the LEC in our regular season, there are half the games we don't give a shit about. Like, if there's a betting odd angle there, we'd love to talk about it. But the reality is, it's not that hard. It's very hard to get too excited about some of the teams playing. Here, every group, every match is a fucking banger, and I cannot wait to see how this next couple days play out.
I mean, unintentionally, you made like quite an intelligent point. Broken clock, right twice a day.
If I keep talking, I'll stumble onto something.
Exactly.
That clock wasn't right last week. I'll tell you that.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
It wasn't even last week. It was just last night. It was just last night.
It was.
What you say about the
honestly,
betting?
I was wrong. Now I look stupid. Fuck it.
The betting on the matches, I think, is a great point because in play-ins, one of the things that's so hard is that you look at two teams and you're like, okay, this team should be better, this team should be worse, and then you see the draft and you're like, oh my god, the better team has the better draft. It's like, okay, this is, and like good odds, like let's hit that line, 2 units, and then suddenly they just don't execute. Or the worst team starts doing some mad shit, and the other team just doesn't know what they're doing. And I think that's been the lesson that every year I've learned more and more. Is like the first year play-ins was not good. Second year we actually did okay. This year I've actually done pretty well. And I think it's just been like, you know what? It's so hard to rely on these teams to actually deliver. Whereas with groups now, I know T1 knows how to execute their comp. I don't know if they know how to draft, but I know they know how to execute their comp. So if I see them make a bad draft, I know I can bet against that. If they get a good draft, I can bet on that, and there's way less variance around that.
This guy sounds so slept on T1. You know what else is great about international play?
Yeah.
And Chris pointed to, it's hard to care about a lot of LCS matches. It's also hard to bring in a North American biased LCS matches because they're all fucking North American. So now I can just rain down hellfire upon EU fans during our podcast, and unfortunate for them. I actually have a very interesting take on one of the EU teams.
Don't get too excited yet, but keep going.
Oh, I'm very excited.
Yeah. I think let's
because EG didn't even win their group. EG didn't even win their group, and they lost to Fnatic.
Let's recap that.
Now
B&B,
you're gonna hop back on the negative
fading
EG
B&B's
trade.
picks is still 100% good. Scoot the Oracle throws out a casual prediction which he doesn't even believe and nails it. So he's like 3-0,
Well, okay, I
and then
believe
he's like,
that
I don't.
EG
He's
was
like, whatever. He just like doubts his own gifts.
Let me be clear. Let me be clear. I believe that EG was going to dominate, but I thought,
He did.
it's looked sloppy to a point where one map could come off of them. But I never thought that Mad Lions was good. There's a YouTube short that you can reference on this.
Yeah,
I said they're not good,
Yep.
and they aren't. And they proved that today. And then they just absolutely ran it down top lane. Goodbye, Armit.
They also just
see
they
you
also
in
just
the
banned
LFL or whatever.
Oh yeah. Like it was just like, oh, don't let him get a couple of carry junglers banned. He's done.
Banned.
Unforgiven in the bot lane. Unfortunately, is unforgivable with his performances.
Niski
it was
getting absolutely
I
destroyed.
mean, they banned Nar too, and then Armit was lost. Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, he is
literally
still
lost.
at it. I think Niski. I don't think Niski. It's hard to blame Niski when your jungler's been banned out, your top lane is inting, and your bot lane doesn't know what they're doing. He is not the weakness on that team.
Niski,
Yeah.
Niski's position is so difficult to be in because
Yeah.
he is not a superstar mid laner. What he is like an extreme facilitator of like the rest of the team making plays. And so when they play well, his stats aren't going to be insane. And when they play badly, his stats are going to be in the toilet, and he's going to look really bad. And they got 3-0'd. So like, it's hard to blame him. But what are you gonna do? Like,
if I'm that team, I keep Kaiser, I keep Oyoya, I keep Niski. I start looking for an ADC and a top laner. That's like what I'm looking for. But enough about them. EG kind of completes the circle of looks terrible, looks better, looks mediocre, looks actually okay. I'm not bullish on them, but I don't think I'm as down on them as I used to be. And Kaori seems to be fitting in more and more. And like I said yesterday, I think like if you're that
Vulcan commented on it, right? Vulcan
Yeah.
commented on it. He was saying, look, as much as you can try and train with someone, and as much as you can go in and practice and solo queue, the reality is you have to be playing the best players in the world in competitive matches and learn how you guys feed off of each other. And Vulcan said it. Great to see that it's coming together. I'm not ready to say that permanently swap out Kaori for Danny. I think Danny's still a special player, but it's great to see 3 teams from NA make it in to groups. It's just great. You love to see that, and so applause to them.
So other match, RNG DFM. It was unexpectedly DFM managed to win one. Even in the second game, they looked actually pretty good until they kind of completely lost it. But there was a shot there for winning it the second match as well. But RNG, honestly, after the first game and start of the second game, where they kind of seemed to lose it, they just mentally reset and then
by the way,
from there.
Before we completely move off EG,
Sure.
I do just want to kind of quickly comment. I would have been really fucking pissed if they wouldn't have one, because, and I think we were talking about this offline before we came on, but again, this is an EG team that had the entire tournament kind of in their grasp. They're playing DFM, who, decent team. Actually, I was really impressed with them today, kind of playing off that, but has a chance to get tied for first, go up against Fnatic, get their rebound match against them, and win and be immediately in versus having to go through the whole rigmarole. Luckily, so they fucking lose. They throw to DFM. They were up. They lose. Luckily, they beat Loud. They beat DFM to put themselves in a better position to not have to go through RNG, right? Because if they had to go through RNG, this could be completely different.
Yeah, for sure.
So they beat those two. So they did clutch up there kind of on the back half. But, this is a team that did not want to make it easy on themselves when they had every chance to make it easy on themselves.
Yeah, they actually really nearly screwed it up there. And that would have been
So
them
bad.
out of the tournament. And actually, to be fair, I think DFM on the flip side nearly had it. Had they gone up against Mad Lions, I think they win and they get out of groups. And, Yudapon and Yaharong, really, those were the two that I was most impressed by. Eevee, less
Such
so,
a good
so
point. Such a good point.
But
I mean, obviously, I'm
It's almost
focused
like if
more
you
on the
look
NA
back-
side of it, but
If you look back at the Loud game yesterday, it's like there's a sense of realism in the DFM camp, and it is like we're gonna have to go through RNG, so this game can be as sloppy as you want it to be, but we need to beat that team tomorrow. And I think some of that carried over to map 1. I think they were way more prepared to play RNG than they were to play Loud. Obviously RNG way more adaptable than Loud. Also way better at team fighting, way better at laning, way better at literally everything. So it becomes a little bit more difficult. But props to them, honestly. Like that
Loud's
team
also
for the
just
LJL wants it.
I mean,
They just want it.
Loud just wants to kind of create a sloppy game, right?
Yeah.
Whereas RNG's a bit more methodical in how they perform.
I mean, up to that
think
point,
Loud
DFM
also-
have been pretty sloppy overall.
Well,
like,
no,
here
they've
and there.
thrown games. I feel like
Yeah.
DFM has. The thing is with Loud, I don't know if they have the makings of a team that can go to the next level. It's kind of like raw talent, raw chaos. Whereas DFM, I feel like, has discipline, which they lose. Whereas if they can be disciplined all the way through, they are a real threat going forward. So, looking now to groups, because we had a few, I guess, upsets of where we thought. We definitely didn't think Fnatic would come out first, considering that they were playing with 2 subs and then 1 sub, all the situations going on with them. So they ended up going to Group A. Group B got EG. Group C got DRX, who ended up in first as well, instead of the RNG that we predicted. And then Group D got RNG. So I'll quickly run through groups. Group A, T1, Fnatic, Cloud9, EDG. Group B, Damwon, EG, G2, JDG. Group C, Rogue, Gam, DRX, Top. And then Group D, Gen.G, Flying Oysters, best name ever, RNG, and 100 Thieves. There's a bit of debate back and forth in this. I think this
the best name ever still is Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Yeah, and they're still playing. But
Russian apologist.
Careful, Nikki is half Russian.
Do you guys think? Don't dox me, man. I'm keeping that shit quiet.
Okay, well,
It's not popular at the moment.
Guys, I'm from Florida.
Let's not tank our viewership.
It's okay. You don't support anything there.
No, I don't. But also, I don't want to get
Well, now you
assassinated.
just killed
now
our
I'm getting
Russian
assassinated.
viewership.
Like, it's a lose-lose.
I'm gonna check the numbers. No people from Russia are watching.
Yeah,
There were
not.
none before, but now it looks worse.
Like 100% not. We were chatting about this
our
before.
Ukrainian viewership.
Does this shift our perception of like what the hardest group is?
Yes, unequivocally yes.
He's about to say some crazy shit. I already know what his opinion is.
I think
It's not right.
I think when we were looking through this previously, we were all thinking that Group D was going to be the group of death because it was going to be the best Korean
Group A
team.
since the beginning.
The best Korean team. We thought RNG was going to come out as just a world beater, so a great China team, because we knew that there was no other group that a China team would get placed into.
Yeah.
A decent 100 Thieves team and the best PCS team. So we thought that was going to be great. I now look at Group D, not as afraid. I look at Group C. You've got a fantastic Korean team in DRX the way they've been playing. You've got GAM Esports, good team. Rogue, the best European team currently. I say best like this. And Top Esports. Looks like a pretty bad group. But to me, Group B is the group of death. Let me just read this out to you. Damwon Kia,
Ridiculous take.
the second or third best Korean team, unquestionably. JD Gaming, the best Chinese team. G2 Esports, which we all said, Scoot said, is actually still the best European team, unquestionably.
Whoa.
Nope, you said it.
Pre-Carlos.
Shh. And then
Said that pre-Carlos.
And then EG.
Let's be very clear.
And then EG, which is a team that is kind of rounding into form now that they have figured out how to play with their bottom lane in Kaori. So
What, now you're an EG supporter?
I'm always an EG supporter.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. You
Group B.
skipped a very crucial group for your argument, by the way.
No, I'm happy to talk about Group A, which is your beloved team.
I mean,
you've
it's
got
got
Cloud9, who hopefully
top
they
8
continue
teams.
still playing, but hasn't played in a while. You've got Edward Gaming, technically I think second best Chinese team. You got T1, probably the second or third best Korean team, and Fnatic, the fucking third place European team. Sorry, that's not the best fucking group of
Problem
death
with saying that Cloud9 is a top 8 team. Who are you kicking out of the top 8? Out of the
Me?
Korean and Chinese teams?
Or
no,
me or
Scoot.
Yeah.
Scoot.
Honestly,
Thank you.
honestly,
Thank you.
honestly, DRX.
Okay, so they're better than DRX.
That's. I think they are.
How would you not kick out RNG? How do you pick DRX in that?
Yeah.
I would pick DRX or RNG, but I think DRX is getting away with something here, and in being rated
Technically, you have to
as
kick out,
highly as you've.
You gotta kick out 2 to include fucking, because I know you want to include Fnatic as a top 8 team too.
No, I'm not including Fnatic. I said 3.
He said
Okay,
3.
Group B is literally 4 of the
I
best
actually think
5
if we're
teams.
looking at this is a funny thing because we had a great comment on YouTube. Shout out to YouTube comments. Please like, subscribe, and follow us on all social media at Bo3 Network. That said
Definitely do
that Group of Death is how many teams have the top highest like top 8, and to me it's actually Group B because you have
Thank you.
Gen.G who are considered the tournament favorites.
Correct.
And then you have Damwon, who I do agree are first or second. And so I would say out of all the groups, they're the ones that have the strongest lock on getting out. RNG, not as good as I expected them to be.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick a second one, I think it would be Group D. I think Group C is actually Rogue has the best
Mediocre?
potential to kind of get
Yep.
out. Because
Group
they
C is
could
fun,
upset
though.
DRX. I agree. I think DRX look better because they're playing against worse teams. I think they
That-
could
but-
upset top. I think GAM could upset someone. So then the other one is potentially Group A, and it really
I just
depends on
dismissed
how
that.
high
I just
do
smoked
you
that
rate
opinion.
T1 and EDG. And I think I rate
It's
the
not
combo
just
of
T1 and EDG. You have to
All right,
also rate
T1
Fnatic and Cloud9. It's a complete package.
I'm talking about
T1.
the top 8, like or top 6. And to me, like if we're giving it points, I think that JDG is higher ranked than EDG. And
Yeah.
then I think Damwon is arguable with T1. So you
Yep.
even out on one, and the other team is
G2,
better
well,
than the other.
and then G2's way better than Fnatic.
That's true.
And then Cloud9 is barely better than EG. I wouldn't count.
Barely?
I would not even count the world.
Barely?
I would not, correct, barely, because
What are
fucking
you talking about?
EG loses Danny to
Yeah,
hold those
that's
things.
the
It can't even
point.
finish in the can't even compete in the
I
championship weekend.
also, the meta changed very nicely and conveniently for Cloud9. Can they adapt to
But
this
he's
new one?
not-
But even if they
Dude,
can,
we
it's
got
NA,
3 out of
okay.
4. We got 3
Also,
out
by
of
the way,
4 in
Here's
Group
NA
the,
is
B.
here's the
irrelevant.
message.
NA
Here's the
is,
message.
like,
One,
free.
I didn't
You
even get to finish my DRX point.
You
So
don't
let's
need
start
to.
there. Yeah, NA's irrelevant. They just fucking slammed on Mad Lions like it was nothing. Easy money. And Mad Lions is bad. Don't get me
I mean,
wrong.
that's
But they
the
would've done
point.
the-
That's the point.
It would've
dude.
done
That's
the-
like,
it would've done
you're
the same
so
thing to
proud-
Fnatic in a
You're
best
so
of five,
proud
let's
of
be very
beating
clear.
Chiefs, Mad Lions, and Istanbul.
Well, you guys sent the
Wildcats.
fucking team that didn't win a best of 5 to make it. That's
I know,
actually
and
insane
that's what you're
that
proud of
happened.
beating.
No, that's honestly shameful
scraps
from
you
your
gotta
league
get.
and how bad it is.
The scraps
okay.
you gotta get. You're
Let's
eating
continue.
Rogue and G2 scraps. They're like, yeah, here, have a little bit of Mad Lions, and you're like, yes, sir. Thank you so
Let's
much,
continue.
sir.
Let's
It's
continue.
delicious, sir.
That's EG. It's
We're
EG
a
with the
major
sub.
region.
It's EG with the sub, and I don't even know why Chris is saying that Cloud9 is slightly better than them. Like they are significantly better.
No.
They played insane in playoffs. They've clearly shown that they've grown as a team. Also, their bot lane showed that it can hold its own. And yes, while the meta has shifted to a certain point, like that is going to prove to be very crucial against some of the better bot lanes in the world. Although T1 at points has looked weak in bot, which is interesting in that matchup. My first point, and I don't know how we got off of this train at all, I think DRX got away with, a little bit of a scam in that I think they won one good match against RNG. And from there, it was just best of ones. Korea is very good at playing best of ones, especially against minor regions, because they don't make as many mistakes as China.
But by the way, groups is best of ones.
I know.
It's double.
But they're not playing minor region dog shit teams. Like, they're playing Rogue and top. Like, they're going to have to be on A game as they were against RNG. I think they're good. I don't think they're, like, amazing or anything. I think Rogue can get out of that group, realistically.
Yeah.
I think your point is. I think you have a great point with DRX being able to hide behind basically one good win and then beating a bunch of soft opponents.
And then they just take care of business after.
Yeah.
And luckily enough for them, it was early. Like
Yeah.
in
It was the
in
first
play.
day.
And
It
they
was the first day.
they got it out of the way early.
Yep.
They showed up ready to play. Took care of business, whatever. Sorry, there's some yelling in the hallway. I don't know what's going on. I was trying to make sure that wasn't getting in the mic or whatever. Yeah, listen, I mean, I love Group A. And I think, like, the one thing that sticks out to me, regardless of how many top 8 teams they have, but I still stick by that they have 3, there are a lot of teams that a lot of people would not want to see not make it out of this group. Like, it's literally full of them. And I think, like, that, to a point, speaks to a lot of, like, what I'm saying.
I'm scared of one team. I'm scared of one team in Group A, and that's Cloud9. B, I'm scared of every fucking team.
I don't even know if you're bought in on this. I don't know.
You know
if
what's
you're bought
funny?
in on
I'm
the
just going to
idea.
call back. Before World started, we were talking about the teams, and Scoot, you were like, how fast will BNB hop off the Cloud9 train? And
I'm still on it.
We haven't even made it to groups,
like-
and he's already like, they're not even that impressive. They're not that scary.
I just said
He's
there's
doing
only
this
one
thing where
team
he's
I'm
like-
afraid of in Group A, and it's
Yeah, but
Cloud9.
your heart's not in it. Your foot's
It
like
is.
half off the
I
train
just think
right
that
now.
EG
I
is
don't-
playing better. Like, sorry.
Well, no, that's recency bias, I think.
But they're
That's
the only team that's played. They're the best team in North
Okay.
America right now.
So they're going to get 06th in that Group B, EG?
Yeah, probably. To be
Could
honest.
happen. It could happen.
All right.
It's gonna they're facing what is quite literally a whipping board of teams that are just ready
Okay.
to beat them.
But that's our
sounds like a
point.
group of death.
That's
Sounds like a
what
group
I'm
of
saying.
death.
What I'm saying is
But no, because they're just gonna
I'm
go
saying
06,
the
that
top
means it's
two,
not.
I'm saying that the top 2 in Group B are a higher ranked top 2 than Group A's top 2.
I don't disagree with you.
Okay.
But I think
Holy
the
fuck.
aggregate
Well, then-
rank
and
the
you think that
aggregate-
I think the aggregate
Fnatic,
rank across the board is higher in Group A.
you've
I
already
rate
agreed. that
I
you
rate
can't do
G2
that.
higher than I rate Cloud9.
I rate G2 higher than Fnatic.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm
That's
saying
fine.
is that I think the,
Yeah, like, we all agree with
G2
that.
is so much better than Cloud9 and Fnatic that makes them a highest threat.
I don't know. I think G2 is
Alright.
very good. I don't think they're like crazy better than C9 by any means. And I think Fnatic is significantly better than EG right
I'll
now.
I'll
mean,
say
as a
one
team.
thing about the C9 thing. I am playing a little bit counter to you guys. I do think they look great in playoffs. I was very impressed, but I am nervous because
I'm nervous as well.
Playoffs buff. They had a
Oh,
really
sounds
good
like
playoff
Scoot's already
meta.
off.
They had a really good playoff meta. They had a good, momentum going. And I'm worried what happens if the meta doesn't suit them. Are they able to continue that playstyle and that success? And I hope so. I'm not sure.
I'm worried about it as well. However, I think they have enough players with enough maturity to be fine in this situation. They also have a decent amount of Worlds experience at this point across that team. Plus, not to mention, Berserker, former T1 sub. And that's why we absolutely love him. But also, I think a very good kind of wild card that they have in their favor is Fudge has a massive top lane pool that he can play. And I think it does factor in to kind of the way the meta's going. And if you leave Fudge on that counterpick top lane late in a draft, I think that suits C9 very well. Not to mention Blaber, we talked about, hey, maybe there's a concern about his Worlds performance prior, or he's just not as good and as mature and as fluid in the decision making that he's been that he has domestically, right?
Yeah.
It's about time to step it up. This is going to be the Worlds where you either kind of see the switch flick a little bit, that comes on, or you're going to go back into the old ways. But I think this is the one where he really turns it on.
Okay.
And I do believe that C9 wins the whole thing, especially if they get hot early.
All right,
So.
all right. Group A. Let's run through it. Who do we think are the top 2 of each group? And is there a team outside the top 2 that we think has a real chance of upsetting? So Group A, I'll kick it off. For me, top 2 are clearly T1 and EDG. I think the team that has a real chance of upsetting is Cloud9 for everything that we've just talked about. I think
So
T1
who do
has
they
been good.
beat though? T1.
I actually think they beat EDG. I think EDG is the team that gets. It's the LPL team that kind of disappoints.
There's always one. There's
always
always one. There's always one.
And I don't think it's going to be JDG. It could be. I think top is also a bit too high up. So it's going to be either RNG or EDG. And the thing is, I lean more towards EDG just because I think Cloud9 has a higher chance of upsetting than let's say 100 Thieves.
I was about to say, well, here's the interesting thing. Yes, it is like more likely to be RNG, but it always feels like it's either the Chinese 1 seed or the 3. And for some reason, that always makes me question, like, oh, is this the best team actually coming?
I also think RNG's performance against DFM, as the match went further, like game 1, I was like, what the hell is going on? Game 2, I was like, ooh, they mid-match, they reset, and they did great. Game 3, I was like, this is clean. Game 4 was even clean. I was like, oh, they're now heating up. Like, they're playing against better teams, and in best of 5s, I'm like, you could be deadly. And I know these are best of 1s, but I'm like, I can see them. They're locked in.
All right. Group A, I mean, regional bias and everything taken into account, right? But, like, you drop all that. Like, the clear favorites here, T1, EDG, as they should be, like, coming from Korea and China. That's pretty much how it's going to be standard, like, across every group. However, again, I agree with you. I think C9 has a chance to upset. It's not really an upset in this situation, as I have predicted them to go pretty deep into Worlds. So I'm going to go with C9 T1 as my favorites personally, not the like book favorites or whatever, but that's what I'm going with. And I guess C9 is my upset, but not really. Like,
all right.
It's kind of a ass backwards take on the group, but whatever.
All I'm saying is that I 100% could see both T1 and EDG not making it and seeing Fnatic and Cloud9 get through. It's obviously T1 EDG are the 2 favorites, but I love Cloud9 here, and Fnatic, I don't know. One of these play-in teams is going to make it through.
Play-in teams?
Yeah.
I
Whether
mean,
it be DRX,
well, yeah,
whether
that's
it
going to be the case.
Fnatic,
It's likely
EG,
DRX, or
DRX.
RNG, right? Like,
I think we're in agreement. Group B, Damwon and JDG are obviously top 2 there. I actually don't think that EG or G2 will be able to upset.
I think it's going to be extremely difficult because
This is one
Damwon,
where I don't
mean,
see them. Yeah.
Damwon had a not mediocre season, but they're obviously not 1 or 2 in Korea, right? But at the same time, you talk about the meta switch, and then you realize that they have Nuggery in the top lane, and then Canyon in the jungle, and it's like, oh, Canyon won a world championship 2 years ago, and Nuggery's probably the best top laner in Korea. Yeah, and then you add in JDG, who's probably the favorite. I think if JDG were to be the team that lets it down, it's got to be G2 that gets out, but I really think this is its stranglehold.
Yeah, I mean, unquestionably the team that could get out is G2. I don't see EG breaking through. Look, this is a group of death. I think you're going to see some surprise wins. I would be really surprised if any team goes 6-0. I think 4-2 could win the group. Yeah. You might even get a 4-2 and 2 3-3s to have a playoff in this group. And so, if I am picking, I like G2 to maybe beat Damwon out. I just don't see a way JDG doesn't make it out of this group. But I think it's gonna be really tight between G2 and Damwon.
I will say the only thing that really sticks in my brain a little bit about this like kind of EG-G2 matchup at the bottom is that it wasn't different evil geniuses playing a different style of league when they did play at MSI. And maybe the difference now is like that sub in Kaori and how it changes their play style a little bit in that matchup. But it seems like a very, very tall mountain to climb in that regard. So I'm not like, I just want to point it out because it could lead to some sort of like difference, but like I don't know if it's really that much of a factor.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, Group C, and this is like the group that I think we have the chance for like biggest upset. So obviously we're gonna rate top. DRX is technically 1 and 2. I really think that this is where it's up in the air because DRX I feel probably look good because of the opponents they played. Like we said, they got RNG out first. I think GAM is good enough. I'm bullish on GAM. I think they're good enough to upset a team or 2. Like, and that those 1 or 2 losses to GAM mean that if you lose then to Rogue, you're suddenly maybe in 2nd or 3rd place, and you lose to top, you're in 3rd place. So I really think that Rogue has a shot of getting out here. I'm hoping we get the Rogue that won. And not the Rogue from semis and quarters.
You
where
never
we were
know.
A little bit, yeah, exactly. I'm a little. This is the same as Cloud9. I gotta be hesitant here because they won, and I'm so happy they won. But no one thought they were going to win. They didn't believe it.
Whoa! Nobody?
Yeah. Sorry. The Oracle did, but he's cheating. He has the eye of the gods.
I actually listen. I think. I don't think it's gonna change at all. I think they got the same energy.
Yeah.
I actually went back after the final and listened to those comms, and it was, partially heartbreaking, but also extremely heartwarming to hear their players that had been in the Mad Lions loss talk to some of the younger guys, like between games, up 2-0, and be like, I don't want to see you go through what I went through. Like when we lost to Mad Lions, when we lost that final. Like, you're not going to experience that. We're going to close this out here. That's how you end up with 3-0. They're going to bring that same energy, I think, to this group. Can Top hold their own? I think they can. I think they were the team that let down 2 years ago or last year. So it's time to kind of bounce back for them. I think this is a little bit of a revenge tour. So I'm going to agree. I think Rogue come out.
I think this is like top Rogue. But I'm going to say that I could see Gam playing upset to Rogue. Like
I can see Gam coming out.
I can see Rogue upsetting, DRX, and I can see Gam upsetting Rogue. This is sort of group where I think everything's up in the air. Even the fact that I'm kind of putting top up top, unintended.
But
pun,
they could throw a game.
But they could totally throw, and we could have like a DRX Rogue or DRX Gam. So this is the one.
Nikki,
that I'm
I think
so exciting.
I think you're being very generous to
The
Vietnam GAM, the VCS and GAM. I am not bullish. I think this is a team that could easily go 0-6. I do agree. Obviously, Rogue could be a little feisty, but to me, this feels like a Rogue team that's just happy to be here. And so they won. They got that monkey off their back. Now, maybe on the flip side, you get that monkey off your back, and now all of a sudden watch the fuck out, and they're going to come out just guns blazing. I'm inclined to suggest. I feel like I keep shitting on Korea and putting China on a mountaintop, and so I'm going to suggest Rogue will beat Top, and you'll get a DRX Rogue or Rogue DRX 1-2.
All right,
that's fair. I think a lot of people tend to shit on Korea coming into Worlds for no reason, but
unless you pick
the
Korean team to win it all.
All right, Group D.
No, it's a bit of realism from you, and we like to be. Hold on. We like to be humble on this podcast.
Yeah,
you know this. We're just some humble guys.
And just humble dudes.
Just good guys.
Humble.
Fuck it, good guys.
Yeah. Group D, Gen.G, obviously number 1, RNG number 2. I'm
gonna say something you don't like.
Go for it.
Gen.G and Flying Oyster are coming out of this group.
Yeah, I don't.
That's not a joke.
Yeah, I know.
I can't even argue with him. The guy's been fucking 100 in the playoffs.
It's not a joke. Dude, I mean, Chovy's obviously fucking insane, and he's probably going to ruin every mid laner in this group, which means that Flying Oyster has 2 losses already. But, dude, okay. I think 100... I didn't see a lot that was encouraging from 100 Thieves. I think they can be fairly easily exposed on a world stage. And then DFM might have exposed some weaknesses in RNG today.
So I'm gonna counter.
Well, especially
that.
for a best of 1.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna counter that. I'm gonna say the RNG one. I've already said. I think they've gone cleaner and cleaner. So I don't think that. I think they will get out. The 100 Thieves one. I think a lot of people give 100 Thieves a lot of shit for losing 3-0, but they still basically won.
No.
They were pretty.
They still have
dominant
FBI. FBI fucking weak.
He's not weak. He's just not as dominant. Like this, and we talked about this before. In America, it's like if you're not first, you're trash. And I'm like, FBI is still good. He has been underperforming. I'm not going to deny that. Yeah. But they have closer, and Someday, both in the running for MVP. Both incredible players, and the meta is definitely like we saw what Mad Lions was able to do with El Yoya. I would say that 100 Thieves is a better version of Mad Lions.
I think they are stronger in this meta. I agree with you. Actually.
So to me, if you have closer, you ban him out. That's fine. We've got Someday, and vice versa. And fingers crossed. I'm really hoping, because we're not putting all our eggs on the FBI Huhi basket, they can underperform
they still have to
and not be
play.
the hard carry.
I
Yeah, but
think,
they
dude,
don't have to hard carry, and so
I think
can live
even
with that.
Abba was like
Abba
not
was-
extremely impressive. In
What
that
do you mean?
final.
No, hold on. First 2 weeks he wasn't good. Then the rest of the season he was like best mid laner.
Yes, but the final, I don't think he was that good.
Before the final,
It's hard for anyone. It's hard for anyone to look good, but
I think finals is one series, so I'm willing to excuse one series where I'd say
Sure.
over playoffs he looked good. Very valid points. I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here because I think everything you're saying, those are valid points to argue against. I think Gen.G
Just say you
is
love
without a
100
doubt
Thieves.
getting out of this group
Yep.
in number one.
Yep.
I don't know enough about Flying Oysters to say how they're gonna.
it's got all the makings of the minor region group.
It does.
It has a Chinese team you can kind of counter,
Yep.
I
and a
will,
North
but
American team that has some weaknesses as well, and then a Korean team that is.
Yeah,
very
but I don't know if RNG can be counted. They looked so good, like halfway through game 2 to game 4, they looked so good.
I don't know what it is with you guys this year. You're really just big on this RNG train. It's not the same team that won MSI. It's what we're forgetting. They are the
Yeah,
4
but
seed.
it is the same team that won
No.
MSI.
Nope.
It is. It is like they are the team that won, and so the greatness is
Different
there.
roster, brother.
One change
Yeah. One change can change your life.
can also make you better.
Can make you better.
If the meta matches, it can make you better. So
Can make you
let
better. But
me,
why did they end up in 4th?
Let me do a couple. Let me
if
remind
this is a better meta, I think they can win.
a
Better.
Let me remind you gentlemen what happened last year, because I think there is some
Please do.
Oh god.
there's some value in looking at history, right?
He's in the time
I
machine.
mean,
again.
100 Thieves really got out last year, and I do think that they might.
They did almost get out last year. 3-3 came in
It was
third
what,
place,
a tiebreaker?
only behind Edward and T1.
Yeah,
I was also overwhelmingly wrong last year. So
Guess what? Gen.G barely gets out. 3-3. That was the group of D, which they're in again, where it was a complete clusterfuck. Everyone went 1-1, and they had the most ridiculous tiebreaker of all time. Mad Lions plays LNG, Scoot's favorite jersey
dude,
of
their
all time.
jerseys were so fucking.
Gen.G
cool.
has to beat TL and then beat Mad Lions, which they do to get first place in the group. But Gen.G and Mad Lions make it out. This is the same Gen.G with Chovy, Peanut, like all same roster. And so this is a Gen.G team that obviously then goes on and makes semis, almost makes worlds, only barely loses to EDG in the semis, 3-2. An exciting team, but all I'm saying is a Gen.G team that hasn't warmed up to the meta might not be as deadly as we need to be concerned about.
true.
And to your point, this is a 100 Thieves team. Now look, last year FBI, way different than this year FBI. I'm going to keep beating that drum. But look, we think that Gen.G and RNG are the two favorites. I do, as much as I love to shit on 100 Thieves, this is a team that kind of sneaky performs.
Yeah.
And especially
Well,
sneaky
so
performs on
three
and they-
finals in 3 splits. That's an
they
achievement.
and they perform in big stages, and I think
Yeah.
that's the point, right? And to your point, Nikki, 1-3-0 doesn't make them a complete shriveling withering flower. Could I see a Gen.G or maybe even an RNG here lose to 100 Thieves and 100 Thieves make it out? I'd love to see it. We love NA. I'm here for it.
I would actually love to see that.
It goes without saying though that like we are going to be very off on something here, and like as a person that might be gambling on this because that is typically our focus, you got to remember that like if you see trends, fucking buy into that shit, baby.
Big time.
And like somebody's gonna overperform, somebody's gonna underperform. It happens every year at Worlds. Like some
And don't
teams
be
just aren't cut
afraid.
for it.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to cut your bait and immediately flip. Especially
I
when you
will
find
say
out
it is-
which China team it is that's blowing it, immediately
Yeah.
bet against them. Because you're still
It
going to
is-
get great
it is-
odds.
Yeah, I agree with that. But it is very interesting that Gen.G is coming with the same roster as last year, and yet like this year they've been 10 times more final on the
But
Rift.
that's
Like,
exactly my point around all of this, is that your points about RNG, Gen.G, T1 looked great at the start of the year. The rest of the year, they've not looked great.
Looked
and
great.
so much of this is hinging on
MSI
the
broke
meta
them.
adapting to the meta, and it's suiting the playstyle of the team. And I have big questions. It's like T1's drafting has been so bad. And now, granted, they still managed to get third place despite that. So if Scoot's
Third?
like offended,
Second.
he's like third. I thought they were
Korea
third
number
seed.
2.
nah, they're second.
Korea
They're
number
second
2.
seed. Sorry, second.
I watched
second
it.
seed.
I watched
Yeah.
them lose finals. It was
And that's the
heartbreaking.
thing. And like, despite that, they're phenomenal. So if the meta suits them, I think they're suddenly like the favorites.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't suit them, I don't know if they win it. And this is something to keep in mind. It's like, you've got to see who is adapting to the meta the fastest. And I do think someone like RNG, who's now played through play-ins, might have a more comfortable read on the meta than we're giving them credit for. But I will also say that someone like 100 Thieves, who is sneaky good and has the potential to get out, and has the players, I think, to get 2 quarters, could create a real upset there. I don't know. It's
Also-
exciting. It's just going to be exciting. That's all I have to say.
Also got to pay attention to who's in form, because like the
Yeah.
more I watch League, the more I realize that it is similar to soccer, in which like you can be in form and out of form, like completely.
yeah.
Or even like
It's 100% true.
or even like hockey, like follow the hot goalkeeper. If
Yeah.
you see someone,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
see a fucking meta favoring the top lane and the top laners just going off, like fucking feed that.
Yeah.
You got to. I mean, dude, I'm very excited to see like a lot of staple picks come out for some people, and one of those is like closers Larssen. Hopefully, I think that's way back in the meta again. And honestly, I think FBI would be pretty good on MF right now. So, although
I
MF seems
like the
half
meta
throw,
for bot
half,
lane, because
like-
I think it allows FBI doesn't have to hard carry. He just has to like do his role, and I think that's enough. And if Abadage
That's
can,
fair.
I'm worried a bit about Abadage because he hasn't played on a big stage, and this was one of the things I think we overlooked, and I definitely forgot about, is that he has basically been a COVID player, and so this last like playing on stage was the first time, and I think he had some serious jitters. Got to see how they react to that. I'd even extend that to the whole of the 100 Thieves team. I think as good as they've been, a lot of that was online play. So need to
just
see.
wanna-
Do they Caps is someone when there's a live stage, the man just flourishes.
he becomes so different.
Others shrivel. But look.
But he
wise
did lose
words from the
his
boys.
first
This has been
final.
I'm pretty happy with this episode. I feel like great insights. Great commentary.
Wait. Caps lost his first final too. By the way,
Yeah.
so
That's
is
true.
that going to carry over?
Is he
Also,
gonna be hungry?
need to remind you that the off-season rumor, by the way, was C9 Chovy before this year. And what did he do? He became the best player in the world.
There we go.
That just goes to show you,
Be
touch the
careful.
org, you win.
Scoot
Never
playoff buff. It's a real thing.
It is.
EG,
I'm not going to doubt
EG,
Caps. I
EG
still think he
3-0.
has it, but
EG
It's been
3-0.
unreal this year.
I was so bad last year. That's the crazy
You
part.
were.
Like
You were.
terrible.
You
I
lost so
think
much
I
money.
didn't. I think I missed every single pick.
You were like, "This is a
Whatever.
lock, $50. This is a fucking lock, 10 units."
Make it all back in one bet.exe. We're
Look,
running
just
that
as a
code
couple
right
of
now,
humble
baby.
guys, we want to say thank you for recognizing our greatness by following us and watching our videos. Please like, subscribe.
It'd be a real shame if you didn't
it would.
subscribe and get these money-making picks.
Would.
At
And also,
Best
I
of
mean,
3
we're
Network.
nearing
Links to our
100
Discord.
subs, so
We
Might
are
as well
getting very
throw-
close. It's slowly
throw a hoodie
climbing.
in there.
We're definitely going to be doing some giveaways pretty soon. So you got to be part of the Discord. So hint, hint, maybe you get some, a little bit of reward if you're part of that. You can find us at Best of 3 Network on Twitter, on YouTube. There are links to our Discord. Please come join. We'd love to chat to you as
We'd love
always.
to.
So from a couple of humble guys, thank you. Scoots and
Most
Oracle,
humble.
Fade BMB's picks. I'm just
Probably.
here, for my good looks. That's it.
Yep.
dude, and
Thanks,
before
everyone.
it completely inverts itself, like
All right.
as we head into this is gonna hurt.
Bye, everyone.
Toodaloo.
Peace out.